Hey book besties, welcome back to another video. So now that 2022 is coming to an end and we're going to be welcoming 2023 soon, it also means that we're going to be getting some new book releases in the new year, which I am so excited for. So I thought it would be fun to share with you guys some of the book releases that I'm really excited for. So my anticipated 2023 book releases. Majority, if not all of the books on my anticipated list are romance books. So if you are an avid romance reader like myself, this video is definitely for you. I'm going to go through all the books in the order of their expected publication date. We actually have quite a few books that are getting released in January, which is so exciting because that's the first month of 2023. So the first book that I'm anticipating comes out on January 3rd, which is French Kissing in New York by Anne-Sophie Johannahue. I never know how to pronounce her last name. She is the author of Kisses and Croissants, which I actually read in January of 2022 and I loved that book. And I'm so excited to be picking up French Kissing in New York when it comes out. So this is another, of course, romance. We follow a charming, high energy romance in the city that never sleeps about a girl who can't wait to be a part of Manhattan's restaurant scene and find the boy she fell for last summer. This is giving me sort of Emily in Paris vibes, but rather than it being set in Paris, it's set in New York. Margot hasn't been able to stop thinking about Zach, the dreamy American boy she met one magical night in Paris. In an instant, they fell head over heels in love and spent the perfect evening ensemble sealed with a kiss and a promise. If the universe wants them to be together, fate will find a way. Flash forward 1 year later, Margot has finished high school and is newly arrived in New York, ready to roll up her chef's coat sleeves in Manhattan's bustling restaurant scene, celebrate her father's upcoming wedding, and reconnect with Zach. But a lot can happen in a year, and promises made in the shadows of the Eiffel Tower look different in the neon glow of the Big Apple. Margot spends the summer desperate to find Zach and enlists the help of Ben, the sweet line cook at her restaurant. Margot is convinced she found her soulmate that night in Paris, but what if the universe has a different plan? This just sounds so good because it's giving me Emily in Paris vibes, except it's the girl who's a chef and it's set in New York but has like a Parisian French vibe, which I love New York and France. So I feel like this is going to be straight up my alley. I am so excited. If it's anything as good as Kisses and Croissants, I will really enjoy French Kissing in New York. The next one I have on my list is X's and O's by Amy Lee, which comes out on the 10th of January. This is actually the second book in the Influencer series. First book is Set on You, which I actually read earlier in 2022, and I really enjoyed that book. And that follows Crystal, who is a fitness influencer, and X's and O's is following Crystal's sister Tara, who is a bookstagrammer, which I think I am going to really love because one, I love books, and two, I also have a bookstagram. So I feel like I'm already connecting to Tara, so I'm very excited. This of course follows our bookstagrammer Tara, who's had her heart broken 10 times by 10 different men, all of whom dumped her because of her stage 5 clinger tendencies. But Tara is determined to find the one. The only problem, classic meet cutes are dead thanks to modern dating apps, so Tara decides to revisit her exes in hopes of securing her own trope-worthy second chance romance. Then we have the Boston firefighter Trevor, who we actually met in the first book, who isn't really interested in love, and Tara enlists him to help her reconnect with her exes. He reluctantly agrees, but Tara's journey is leading him to discover his own new chapter. So it seems like it's forced proximity, roommates to lovers, and I'm very excited for this one, especially because Tara is trying to make second chance romance her trope, but it's probably not going to go that way. Now this is actually not a romance book, it's a mystery thriller that I'm very excited to read, and that is All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. This one comes out on the 10th of January. Stacey Willingham is the author that wrote A Flicker in the Dark, which I also read earlier in 2022 and absolutely adored. So I'm really excited to pick up her newest thriller. 1 year ago, Isabel Drake's life changed forever. Her toddler son, Mason, was taken out of his crib in the middle of the night while she and her husband were asleep in the next room. It's giving Rapunzel vibes. With little evidence and few leads for the police to chase, the case quickly went cold. Isabel's entire existence now revolves around finding him, but she knows she can't go on this way forever. In hopes of jarring loose a new witness or buried clue, she agrees to be interviewed by a true crime podcaster, but his interest in Isabel's past makes her nervous. But she is determined to figure out the truth no matter where it leads. Then back onto romance. Also coming out on the 17th of January is Speechless by Lindsay Lanza, which I am so excited for this book to get released because I actually got an advanced reader's copy. So I got to read this book and I absolutely loved it. I think it was a 4 or a 4.5 star read for me. So I definitely want to pick up the paperback when it gets released, and I definitely recommend you guys to read this one because it is such a sweet, fluffy romance book. So we follow a best-selling author named Lucy who mainly writes like fairy tales and romance books for a living, but her own happily ever after is looking very bleak. Seeking a fresh start after a sudden divorce on the eve of her 30th birthday, she decides to make a new life of herself and her service dog in LA. So there's also service dog rep. But when her living arrangements fall through just before takeoff, a handsome stranger offers to let her stay with him and his motley crew of musicians in Malibu. Her gallant hero, none other than Henry Turner, the award-winning composer whose music has held Lucy together while her life's been crumbling apart. When I first actually started reading this book, it kind of gave me Wattpad fanfiction vibes because Lucy was already a huge fan of Henry, and you know, he lets her stay at his mansion beach house with the rest of his like band, musician, composers. So it kind of like gave me Wattpad vibes, but like in a good way, because this book was actually just so cute. There's like Taylor Swift references thrown in there, and it's just a very cute, wholesome book, but also has some really good mental health representation, service dog representation, chronic illness representation, and I just really enjoyed this book. And the cover is so cute, so I will definitely probably reread this book when it comes out. Begin Again by Emma Lord, which comes out on the 24th of January. So we follow our main character Andy, who has a specific plan: transfer from community college to the hyper competitive Blue Ridge State, major in psychology, and maintain her lifelong goal of becoming an iconic self-help figure despite the nerves that have recently thrown her for a loop. All it will take is ruthless organization, hard work, and her trademark unrelenting enthusiasm to pull it all together. But the moment Andy arrives, the rest of her plans go off the rails. Her rocky relationship with her boyfriend Connor only gets more complicated when she discovers he transferred out of Blue Ridge to a community college. Her roommate Shay needs a major, and despite Andy's impressive track record of being the fixer, she's stumped on how to help. And Milo, her coffee guzzling grump of an RA with seafoam green eyes, is somehow disrupting all her ideas about love and relationships, one sleep-deprived wisecrack at a time. And when Andy starts to find the power of her voice as the anonymous squire on the school's legendary pirate radio station, Andy learns that not all of the best laid plans are necessarily the right ones. Then we've got Final Offer by Lauren Asher, which is the last book in the Dreamland Billionaires trilogy. I am so excited for this book to come out because I've been holding off from reading the first two books because I want the last book to be released so I can read them like all together. So I'm really excited for Final Offer. So this series follows three brothers. This specific book is about brother number 3 named Cal. It's a dual POV billionaire romance. So we follow Cal, who is the Kane brother everyone gossips about behind closed door. He's a trust fund brat, washed up athlete, high functioning alcoholic. No one knows the real him except for Alana Castillo, her childhood best friend and the only woman he's ever loved. This looks like it's gonna be childhood friends to lovers, which is really cute. When he broke her heart 6 years ago, he promised to never return to Lake Wisteria, and he kept that word until his grandfather's will changed everything. To receive his inheritance, he was tasked with spending a summer at the family lake house before selling it. The request was simple in theory until turns out that Alana doesn't just live at the house, but she claims to own it 2. So this sounds so good. I have a feeling Final Offer is gonna be my favorite book out of the series because it's childhood best friends to lovers, it's second chance romance, the guy falls first. This next book comes out like a week before Valentine's Day, so it is coming at a perfect time, and that is Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey, which comes out on the 7th of February. I love Tessa Bailey. She is one of my favorite spicy rom-com writers. A steamy new rom-com about a starchy professor and the bubbly neighbor he clashes with at every turn. We follow Hallie, who fell hard for Julian after they almost kissed in the dark vineyards of his family's winery. Now, the prodigal hottie has returned to their small town, so it's small town romance as well. When Hallie is hired to revamp the gardens on the Voss estate, she wonders if she'll finally get that smooch. But the grumpy professor isn't the teenager she remembers, and their polar opposite personalities clash spectacularly. Grumpy sunshine, I'm here for it. One wine-fueled girls' night later, Hallie can't shake the sense that she did something reckless, and then she remembers the drunken secret admirer letter she left for Julian. I love romance books that are set in a small town setting, so I'm super excited for this one. So this is Tessa Bailey's new series that she's putting out, and it's called A Vine Mess. So that's the first book, and the second book also comes out later in 2023, which is also on my list, which I'll talk about later on because it comes out a few months later. But the next book that we've got is The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. Oh my gosh, I just realized it's so funny. This main character's name is also Hallie, and they come out like very close together. This main character, who's also named Hallie, is turning over a new leaf. After barely crawling out of her hotel room, she decides it's time to become a full-on adult. She gets a new apartment, new haircut, and a new wardrobe, but when she logs into the dating app that she has determined will find her new love, she sees none other than Jack, the guy whose room she'd snuck out of. And after the joint agreement that they are absolutely not interested in each other, Jack and Hallie become partners in their respective searches for the one. They text each other about their dates, often scheduling them at the same restaurants, so that if things don't go well, the two of them get tacos afterwards. Spoilers, they got a lot of tacos together. Discouraged by the lack of prospects, Jack and Hallie make a wager to see who can find true love first, but when they agree to be fake dates for a weekend wedding, all bets are off. This is gonna be so great. Then we've got Only Game in Town by Lacey Walden, which comes out on the 21st of March. This one is a small town romance. We follow a freelance editor named Jess. Jess is resigned to a safe, unremarkable existence until Jasper, the town's eccentric benefactor, dies suddenly and leaves behind the opportunity of a lifetime. Financial advisor Carter has been too busy to visit his grandfather in Redford, the small town. A small insular town in Georgia is the last place Carter expects to be spending his summer, but it seems his grandfather had one final trick up his sleeve. At the funeral, it's revealed that Jasper has devised a massive high-stakes game for the people of Redford, with the winning duo taking home his entire fortune. The catch? He's already taken the liberty of pairing them up. As tensions of all kinds rise between Jess and Carter and the life-changing prize looms closer, the two must decide what they're willing to risk to change their lives. This synopsis sounds really interesting and super cool. It's kind of reminding me of Twice Shy by Sarah Hoggle. Then we've got Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score, which is expected to come out on the 3rd of April. This is the second book following from the story of Things We Never Got Over, except we're following a different character in this small town. We follow Nash Morgan, who was always known as the good Morgan brother, but now this chief of police is recovering from being shot and his southern charm has been overshadowed by panic attacks and nightmares. He feels like a broody shell of the man he once was. Nash isn't about to let anyone in his life know he's struggling, but his new next door neighbor, smart and sexy Lena, sees his shadow. As a rule, she's not a fan of a physical contact unless she initiates it, but for some reason Nash's touch is different. He feels it too. Too bad Lena's got secrets of her own, and if Nash finds out the real reason she's in town, he'll never forgive her. Besides, she doesn't do relationships ever. I'm so excited to read this book. I am interested to see how Lucy Score writes the anxiety and PTSD rep. I think that will be really interesting. I hope it's written in a really good and realistic way, but I'm also really excited for the romance to unravel and see what Lena is hiding. Then we've got The Plus One by Maisie Eddings. This one comes out on the 4th of April. So this is a childhood enemies to lovers with fake dating, which I think is going going to be so fun. On paper, Indira has everything together, an amazing job, a boyfriend and a car. What more could a late 20-something ask for? But when she walks in on her boyfriend in an amorous embrace with a stranger that's perfect on paper, image goes up in flames. Jude has nothing together. A doctor that spent the last 3 years traveling the world to treat emergencies and humanitarian crises. A quick trip home for his best friend's wedding has him struggling to readjust. Thrust into an elaborate wedding event that's stressing Jude beyond belief and has Indira seeing her ex and his new girlfriend far more frequently than any human should endure. The duo strike a bargain to be each other's fake dates to the wedding from hell. So we've got fake dating, childhood enemies to lovers, and forced proximity. That combination sounds so good to me. Then we've got King of Pride by Anna Huang, which is the second book in the Kings of Sin series. We recently had King of Wrath come out this year, and I haven't picked that one up yet, but I'm so excited to pick this one up because it's still set in the same world as the Twisted series, which is so cool, but it's like a new series. The synopsis of this book is not released yet, but the actual book is expected to be published on the 27th of April, but it looks like this is an opposites attract and obviously another billionaire romance. So I'm really excited. Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune, who is the author of Every Summer After. This one is expected to be released on the 2nd of May. Fern has wasted far too much of her adult life thinking about Will. She spent just 24 hours in her early 20s with the aggravatingly attractive, idealistic artist, a chance encounter that spiraled into a day-long adventure in Toronto. The timing was wrong, but their connection was undeniable. They shared every secret, every dream, and made a pact to meet 1 year later. Fern showed up, Will didn't. At 32, Fern's life doesn't look at all how she once imagined it would. Instead of living in the city, Fern's back home, running her mother's lakeside resort. The place is in disarray, her ex-boyfriend's the manager, and Fern doesn't know where to begin. She needs a plan, a lifeline. To her surprise, it comes in the form of Will, who arrives 9 years too late, with a suitcase in tow and an offer to help on his lips. Will may be the only person who understands what Fern's going through, but how could she possibly trust this expensive suit-wearing mirage, who seems nothing like the young man she met all those years ago? Will is hiding something and Fern's not sure she wants to know what it is. But 10 years ago, Will rescued Fern. Can she do the same for him? This sounds so freaking interesting. Like, he just comes back into her life 9 years later after standing her up when they made that pact. Also coming out on the 2nd of May is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I love Sarah Adams as an author. Her books are just so cute and fluffy, so I expect good things from this book. So we follow a girl named Annie who's on a quest to find her perfect match, someone who nicely complements her happy, quiet life running her flower shop in Rome, Kentucky. Unfortunately, she worries her goal might be too far out of reach when she overhears her date saying she's so unbelievably boring. Is it too late to become flirtatious and fun like the leading ladies in her favorite rom-coms? Maybe she only needs a little practice, and Annie has the perfect person in mind to become her tutor, Will Griffin. Why does this sound like it's a plot from Angus Thongs and Perfect Snoggings? But I love that. Will, the flirtatious, tattooed, and absolutely gorgeous boyfriend, is temporarily back in Rome, providing security for Amelia Rose as excitement grows for her upcoming marriage to Noah Walker. Will wants no part in changing the sweet and lovely Annie, but he can't bring himself to say no to her request, so he officially agrees to teach her how to be the next leading lady of Rome, Kentucky, and find the love of her life even if he doesn't believe in love himself. Between faking a relationship so the meddling town doesn't catch on to what's really happening on their practice dates, and tutoring lessons that convince Annie to add passion to her list of must-haves in a mate, it doesn't take long for the lines of their friendship to blur. Sounds interesting. So it's friends to lovers, fake dating. Annie just sounds like such a cute, wholesome character. Now, this is the second book in the Vine Mess series by Tessa Bailey that I mentioned before. So the second book is Unfortunately Yours, and it's expected to be published on the 6th of June. So this one is following Natalie, who has just lost her job and her fiance, and she ends up returning home and she's ready to get back on her feet. She just needs her trust fund to finance her new business venture. Unfortunately, the terms require she marry before she can have the money, and well, dumped, remember? But Natalie is desperate enough to propose to a man who makes her want to kill him and kiss him in equal measure. August Cates may own a vineyard, but he doesn't know jack about making wine. He's determined to do his late best friend proud no matter what it takes, except his tasting room is empty, his wine is disgusting, disgusting and his buddy's legacy is circling the drain. No bank will give him the loan he needs to turn the business around, and then the gorgeous feisty heiress knocks on his door. Natalie has haunted his dreams since the moment they met, but their sizzling chemistry immediately morphed into simmering insult. Now a quickie marriage could help them both. A sham wedding, a few weeks living under the same roof, and then they can go their separate ways assuming they make it out alive. So this is an enemies to lovers, marriage of convenience sort of trope. So I'm very, very excited for that. Then we've got Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, which is probably one of the books that I'm most excited for to be released. This one comes out on the 13th of June. This is another women in STEM romance. The many lives of theoretical physicist Elsie Hanaway have finally caught up with her. By day, she's an adjunct professor, toiling away at grading labs and teaching thermodynamics in the hopes of landing tenure. By other day, Elsie makes up for her non-existent paycheck by offering her services as a fake girlfriend. Honestly, it's a pretty sweet gig until her carefully constructed Elsie verse comes crashing down because Jack Smith, the annoyingly attractive and broody older brother of her favorite client, turns out to be the cold-hearted experimental physicist who ruined her mentor's career and undermined the reputation of theorists everywhere. And that same Jack, who now sits on the hiring committee at MIT, right between Elsie and her dream job. Elsie is prepared for an all-out war of scholarly sabotage, but those long penetrating looks, not having to be anything other than her true self when she's with him, will falling into an experimentalist orbit finally tempt her to put her most guarded theories on love into practice. And last but not least, for an anticipated release of 2023 is When I Come Home by Maisie Myers, who is the author of The Truth About Love, which is one of my favorite books of 2022. We don't have an exact release date yet. All I know is that it comes out in early 2023. I also have no idea what the tropes of this book is or what the synopsis, what the book is about is going to be. All I know is that Maisie Myers wrote it, so I am sure as heck going to be picking this one up because I absolutely love her book. So I am very excited for that book to come out. It's going to be so good. Those are my anticipated book releases for 2023. I am so pumped for the new year. All the new books that are going to be released is going to be so much fun. I'm so excited to pick all of these up and pre-order them. Let me know what your most like #1 anticipated book release is because I would love to know. And give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed watching. Subscribe to my channel down below. I post new videos every single week, and follow me on all my social medias. I post a ton on there as well, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.